Welcome to Collaborations with Spirit, 21 channeled messages to activate your energy system and create from divine flow. I'm your host, Christina Miglino, and I'm so happy to be here with you all today. And I'm very excited that we have a phenomenal woman to introduce you to today. Her name is Ava Charlotte Larson Ruiz, and she is an international keynote speaker, trainer, guide, and facilitator who profoundly impacts people with her engaging presence and message. As a peacemaker and presence preceptor, she functions as a catalyst for transformation, guiding groups and individuals to experience authentic love of self and life, and the happiness that comes from stripping away personal stories, beliefs, falsehoods that shield people from their true self. Welcome, welcome, Ava. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, me too. Okay, so let's just dive into your awakening journey. Now, I know that's like our whole lives, right? But I would love to hear a little bit about your journey and, you know, where you've gone and how you've gotten to the place you're in right now.
Well, like you say, that's a lifelong journey and story. What I feel called to share is how many years ago, I had a pretty intense, close call with death through a skydiving accident. And it shifted everything for me. I saw it as a sophisticated suicide attempt that really made me aware of, oh my God, I'm sleepwalking here. I'm alive and not living my life. And it's set me searching in a way I hadn't done before. I was already a searcher, quote unquote, but outside, not inside. And as that shifted, people started showing up, and I wasn't really into mediumship and all of that before this, but a guy's name kept showing up in my daily experience. So eventually I just said, fine, I'll go see him. He was channeling. And I sat down with this man and he said, why are you here? You can do what I do. And no, that's ridiculous. Of course I can't. But he put me with a stranger in a room and he said, talk. And I had nothing to say. And that went on for maybe 20 minutes where he kept saying, tell what you're seeing. And I'm saying, I don't see anything. Yes, you do. I see what you're seeing. So just say it. And I was so confused. But eventually I became aware that I was seeing a tree, the image of a tree, which I felt, well, I can't just say I see a tree. I was expecting a message, like a complete message. But eventually I did say that, I see a tree. And the moment I said that, the image changed. And now there was a little girl sitting in the tree. So I said, there's a little girl sitting in the tree. Then she started waving her legs. She's waving her legs. And I just knew the young woman in front of me needed more joy in her life. So I said that. And the woman started crying. And I'm like, okay. That was my first experience with channeling. And kind of just made me realize that I've been doing this my entire life. I just never called it that. And the intuition, the knowing of things, the desire to walk on the other side of the street or to call a friend or like all those little synchronicities that I had called them just became very clear. And I started doing that for a living back then, that channeling for people, doing healings and Reiki, and it kind of just evolved little by little by little. And back then I called it channeling, and I didn't really have a clear idea of what my guides looked like. I called them guides. I felt I was channeling someone, something, or I would channel your dead grandmother or, something like that. And over time, that really changed. And it was a long time I didn't really call it channeling, and I didn't do it that way. And I still don't call it channeling, but I totally know I am now, and I feel that we all are. Like I feel the same. But my concept of what I'm channeling has completely changed. And yes, I personally believe that there are entities in non-physical form that we can communicate with and channel. I don't necessarily believe that they always know better than we do. Just because you've left your body doesn't mean you're all of a sudden all wise. It all depends on the evolution of that particular spirit.
Sure.
So how evolved is that soul? How, when the human being leaves physical form, if that human is really attached to his or her personality, that personality continues.
Sure.
It's just out of body. And it's not necessarily any wiser.
Right.
But someone who's very aware, I am not my body, I'm not my personality, I'm not my emotions or thoughts, I am consciousness itself, then you have the ability to release this, all the forms. As the body dies, you can release the emotional and the mental energies as well, and return back to oneness. And communicating with that is completely different.
Yeah.
And for me personally, I feel that the most powerful channeling any one of us can do, it doesn't have to be someone who's working as a channel, but anyone, is to channel our own consciousness, ourselves as consciousness, as oneness, and embody that and have that be what is expressing through us. That's the purest form of channeling I can think of.
Yeah.
And that's what I strive to do in my own life. And sometimes my personality takes charge. It's time for me to release that and let consciousness flow again.
Yeah. So will you tell us a little bit about the work that you do? I know that you work a lot with transformation and supporting people in their own transformation. What does that look like when you're working with people?
It's very individual. The foundation of it is pretty much what we just talked about, and having a conscious awareness that you are not the limited forms. Those are fantastic and so enjoyable and amazing vehicles and tools, but they're not what we are. And bringing people deeper into that awareness, not just as a concept. Many of us know now this truth as a concept, but living it is something else. And our minds are the human mind is so sophisticated and tricky. So it will take any new concept, any new information, and make it its own. Okay, I can be consciousness, but it's the mind. So now the mind is pretending to be consciousness. So doing that work of really getting conscious, embodied awareness of what's what and how it feels different in you when consciousness is present, when the veil of the personality falls away and consciousness is present, and going deeper into that and being able to access our authentic beingness at will, knowing that, okay, I'm being pulled by the world of forms now, I'm being pulled by something outside of myself, or I'm being pulled by emotional energies or thoughts arising in my own being, and that's okay, but I'm aware of it and I can shift back into something else.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So the work is a lot about that.
Yeah.
But of course, how that looks is completely individual. Someone might be working on relationship with self. Someone else is wanting a relationship. Someone else is all about career or contribution, and everyone carries their own story, their own imprints, strengths and limitations. So and we're all at different levels on the journey. So it looks very different depending on who I'm working with.
And people hire you to do a lot of speaking as well. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what do you find is the most asked of you, like as far as the subject matter, and what are people hiring you to speak about?
Oh gosh, those are two different questions I
Oh
find.
yeah. I know what they hire you for and what you actually end up delivering might not even always be.
Yeah, and also how you asked what is the most asked question, what people are most
Sure.
curious about,
Yeah.
usually ends up not being what I have been asked to talk about.
Sure. Yeah.
Usually it's some generalized subject within the transformational world that
Okay.
I'm asked to talk about. But what usually ends up becoming the topic, either in a stage setting or in workshops or journeys. I love taking people on transformational journeys. It's my favorite thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Is having the interaction, and through the interaction with me, they get very curious as to what they perceive in me.
Mm-hmm.
They perceive something, and that is what is the most asked. So what is that, and how did you get that? And
Wow.
then that's the most common question.
And what do you say?
Oh my God. It really, because I live very much in the present moment, it really is, again, very different depending who asks the question.
Yeah, sure.
Because it comes to me in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually coming through in a way where it's the most beneficial for the person who's asking. So it can look in different ways. But what comes right now is being brutally honest with myself, of really having the courage to always face whatever is coming up. Mainly inside, like we don't have much choice in what's coming up outside many times. Life events, they happen, but we do have a choice how we handle it internally. And absolutely I've had my reactions and resistance and why me moments, absolutely. But there is an aspect of me that always takes it to the, okay, what's going on here? And over time, I don't necessarily ask that any longer. Now I'm so connected with myself as consciousness, and now it's more of becoming aware of, let's say it's fear arising for something, and I can feel that stirring in my being, and I'm aware it's stirring, and I can allow it to be there, but it doesn't mean I have to become afraid. I can connect into myself as this expansive space of nothingness and everything, where stillness always resides.
Yeah.
If I can connect to that, which I now know how, fear can still be present, and depending on what has been triggered in me, it may take a little bit until it subsides. But I don't have to be pulled by it, and I don't have to become afraid. I don't have to act afraid. I don't have to speak afraid things. I don't have to defend or run and hide and all those things that comes with fear.
Yeah.
Because there is something else always present in me that I know how to reach into. It's what we all are. So it's kind of crazy talking about as something I reach into, because it is what I am.
Sure.
But from the point of view of human mind, that's kind of how it feels. But I have to shift myself out of the human mind that now wants to take over. It's okay, I need to take charge here and defend.
Yeah.
No. Unless there is actual danger, where usually there is no danger.
Right.
I can shift I can shift where I hold my attention from. And then my experience changes, even if I still have fear present in me.
Yeah. Absolutely. I know that you talked about fear becoming your ally.
Yeah.
And I think that that's beautiful. Will you just say a little bit more? Since we're on the topic, it's perfect.
I had no idea that's what I was doing when I started skydiving. That's really where I first started with that process. Definitely, I was afraid jumping out of an airplane. I think everyone is the first time or first couple of times. But doing it anyway and realizing that fear doesn't have to stop me.
Yeah.
Fear can be present, but I can move forward anyway. It was a tremendous training in the physical realm as doing something physically active, like jumping out of an airplane. And I would skydive, I would ski or mountain climb. I did all kinds of on the edge stuff.
Yeah.
And it really trained me for the inner work that I didn't know I was going to be doing in my life, where that kind of courage really helped me. It's okay, I'm terrified right now, but it doesn't matter. I know I need to face this, whatever it is. I need to move into it, not away from it.
Right.
I need to be with it. I need to allow it to engulf me so I can move through it and come out on the other side. When I had that skydiving accident, which should have killed me and it didn't, it's a story in itself. And I started skydiving again after that. I wasn't afraid at all for maybe 20, 30 jumps. And then all of a sudden, that suppressed terror surfaced. And for 5 jumps, I was shaking and crying. I was so scared. There was no way I wanted to jump. But I did it anyway. I was moving in through that fear. Okay, it's just fear. There's nothing dangerous here. Well, people would say it's dangerous jumping out of an airplane and potential danger, of course, but that's true for driving a car or anything. So, and statistically, it's safer skydiving than driving a car.
Yeah.
But being able to be with fear, with talking fear, but it's really any emotion, and realizing that it's just energy in motion. It's not going to kill me. And many years later, I got really, really sick with Lyme disease. And all the training I had of how to master my mind fell away because the bacteria was in my central nervous system and I couldn't control my mind.
Yeah.
Which was terrifying. That was my tool for everything.
Right. Yeah.
And I tried everything internally and externally. I had all the tools, I had all the training, nothing worked. I would explode in anxious attacks in the most weird places, the CVS line to pick up medicine, the most crazy places, and showing up pretty insane and having the self-judgments, and it was just really challenging. But part of what happened through that was, and that I realized in all the training I had learned to control my mind, and through my mind control everything else. And that worked, but it took a tremendous amount of energy. And now I couldn't control it. And it wasn't until I actually gave up and realized I can't do anything here, which is exactly what happened in my skydiving accident. There was a realizing I can't do anything, and then everything changed. And the same was here in the slow motion falling to my death with Lyme disease of I can't do anything. And in that surrender, something shifted where all those crazy emotions, I realized I can't control them, so I have to become friends with them. And in doing that, in that meeting them differently, not not with the intent of stopping them or moving through them or controlling them, but just being friends with them, because okay, I can't get rid of them, so how can I be friends with them? And that really, really changed everything.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's horrendous ways to get to these realizations that I've chosen for myself.
Oh, I can really relate.
I think many of us can. Yeah, we're stubborn as humans. We like, it's right in front of us, and it's so easy.
Right.
And here we are. We're making it so difficult.
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
That can be fun too. That's part of the experience.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yep.
And that's part of the lesson too. I think sometimes things get really, really hard. And then when we recognize they don't have to be, we can laugh at ourselves, and then they don't have to be hard anymore.
Yeah.
As I'm listening to you, oh, yeah.
No, it's good if we can get to that point where we're.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. One of the things that I am thinking of as you're speaking is about radical responsibility, which is something I talk to my clients a lot about, but I'm hearing it in the way that you do your life, basically, is there's so much responsibility. And when we take responsibility of our soul, even though, I mean, that can look like a lot of different things too, you know. I think people get responsibility confused with like blame and shame and all these things, right? But if there's a way, like you're saying, to meet what's coming up without having to like be a victim to it or be blaming yourself, there's a different way to be. And I think responsibility is a big part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't have to create a story around what's coming up. The human mind wants to understand, and it wants to classify and describe, and all of a sudden we have this interpretation. We don't really have to do that. We can, and sometimes it's helpful, but most of the time it's not.
Yeah, it's so true. We can get so distracted with the story that it actually keeps us from whatever the growth moment is, you know?
Yeah. And if we feel a need to create a story, create a good story.
There you go.
Because we have a choice. It's not that there is one interpretation that is the right one. And with the self-judgments and all of that kind of stuff, or victimhood, or predator, or whatever the story is, it's not the truth. It's an interpretation. And how I choose to interpret the life events that are on my path, that completely defines my life experience. And I have complete control over that. I don't have control over the life events, but I have control over my interpretation.
Right.
Or I can gain control over my interpretation. Most of us, honestly, we don't have that because we're running on automatic.
Right.
And there's not enough awareness.
Yeah. So what would you say to somebody who said, I know I'm running on automatic and this is really hard, but I would like to be able to be more present, find more in flow state, myself in flow state. Like what would you say to them? Where do you begin?
Yes.
Yay.
Right. So, if that's what you want, let's figure out what your automatics are. Let's figure out how this persona functions. To fully understand the ins and outs of this avatar that you have in this virtual game of life. And once you understand your avatar, you can also modify your avatar.
Yeah.
You understand that you're not the avatar, you are the force that's moving the avatar. And it becomes less personal and the avatar becomes less personal, and then there's less need to judge.
Yeah.
And you also have much greater ability to be radically responsible because you know you're the force that's moving it. You can shift that avatar in any way, shape, or form once you have that awareness. But when you think you're the avatar, you're locked into that. And that's running on automatic.
Mm-hmm.
You need to kind of separate yourself from the avatar first.
Yeah.
And realize that I am not the avatar. There is a separation at first. And
Mm-hmm.
once that is strong enough, you can bring consciousness back into the avatar.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
that's the more of the embodiment stage. But
Mm-hmm.
not everyone is there. They need the separation first.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is so great. I'm so glad that you're talking about this because I think that sometimes we really just want to get there, you know? I know from experience, like we just want to be embodied and feel integrated, you know? And um there's really something to be said for paying really close attention to, okay, I am not that. Then what am I? How do
Yeah.
I take responsibility for all of it? My story, my actions, my memories, my ideas about who did what and what happened. And it's really liberating when we
Yeah.
go to that place. But
It
I think
is.
it's
Yeah.
risky too.
Scary.
Yeah, scary.
It's scary for the avatar. It's not scary for what we really are, but for the avatar, the persona, yes, it's scary.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's so easy to come into almost like a war with our own self, with the persona, and
Yes.
so much judgment of the automatic reactions and how we show up.
Mm-hmm.
But those are only a result of the life we have lived, and everything the persona is doing is it's doing out of past experience, and it's correct in its choices based on past experiences.
Right.
It's just trying to help, to do the
Mm-hmm.
right thing, to be the best person given the experiences it has had.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's not as much identification with the persona, it's so much easier to be compassionate with ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And therefore everybody else, you know, it's like
Yes.
starts with us for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I just had a teacher of mine, this was a few months ago, I went through a very similar thing that you talked about with the Lyme's disease. For me, it was toxic mold, black mold, and
Also,
similar though,
yep.
toxins that get in your brain and you do start to have a really wild experience that's like, oh, this doesn't feel right to me, you know?
Crazy.
Yeah, you feel a little crazy and then you be with what does crazy feel like and how far can I go, you know? It's very interesting in a way, big teachings.
Very, yeah.
But I had a teacher talk about grace, and she was like, you know, you get to find grace for yourself right now. And I was like, it was like a light bulb went on. I was like, oh, that's such a beautiful word. I would love that. Let's do that.
What a beautiful way of expressing it. Yes.
Yeah. And I say that because if anyone is tuning in and really feeling what we're talking about, you know, really let grace be a part of your journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I can so relate to what you're saying. That's how I felt also. One of the things I used for myself, and I'm not necessarily a religious person, but I would imagine the hands of God or consciousness or source or spirit, whatever tradition,
Mm-hmm.
just holding me.
Mm.
And that would really, really help.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, that felt like that was something other than me holding me. And then, of course, eventually I could come back to that it's me holding me. But I needed that reassurance when I was really tumbling around and
Yeah. Yeah.
lost in space.
Absolutely. It's interesting those like sometimes things that maybe we take for granted. Like I've always seen guides and I've always had such, you know, kind of psychedelic, phenomenal visions and all these things. But when it comes down to it, we all have moments feeling really lost and really alone. And just the simplicity of knowing that we're held by these really benevolent beings that just love us, you know? I mean, it's just love. It's so simple.
Exactly.
But
The
yeah, it's
essence of
beautiful.
love is always present.
Mm-hmm.
Always, always.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Inside and around us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So Ava, what do you feel most excited about right now in your life?
Mm, I feel that there is a shift coming on again. Um, I really do feel that the way I have been working will change, not necessarily in its form, but something is about to shift. And I can't describe it because I don't know what it is yet, but it really excites me. I can feel, I've recognized it now from having gone through these big shifts many times. So there's a little bit of a cocoon stage I'm feeling right now, that I'm a little less out there and a little cocoonish. And it's getting ready to burst.
Wow.
Yeah,
Exciting.
it
Yeah.
is exciting. I wish I could tell you what it is, but I don't know myself. So.
Well, it's a lovely thing to just trust that, and know it's coming and pay attention. And
Yeah,
that's a big gift, I think.
yeah, that's been part of what I picked up along my life journey, to really, really trust that. Even when it doesn't necessarily make logical sense, or financially it might not make sense, or living spaces, or any of all those things. Like,
Yeah.
it does not make sense, but okay. Trust and
Yeah.
stay connected to consciousness, to space,
Yeah.
to love. It's constantly being in that energy, bringing that energy all the time, as much as possible. Not just when I'm working, but in my own being.
Yeah. Yes. So we have a few more minutes. Do you want to talk about your special offering for the audience? If you do, fine. If not, we can just post it. It's up to you.
Yeah. Well, I have a meditation, an audio meditation, and a written form that goes along with it. That's a free gift. And I will also be offering, if anyone wants to have just a free complimentary conversation to explore things, I will offer that as well.
Okay.
And maybe something else. I'm not quite sure yet, but at least those two.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so if you are open to it, do you want to go into your guided message or channeled message for the audience?
Sure.
Wonderful.
So these are really troubled times, very turbulent times. Maybe they're turbulent for you personally, but definitely in our world. And it's easy to feel that this is something that's wrong. And please know it's not. This is a sign of something that's going right. If you imagine a glass with clean water, and at the bottom, there's a layer of sediment. And because there's been this stagnation and stillness and holding of this water in place, the sediment is still on the ground, and you might not even be aware of it. But as you pour in clean water into the glass, this sediment will stir up, and the water will become murky and seem undrinkable. And as you keep pouring the clean water into the glass, it gets clearer and clearer and clearer until eventually it's completely clear. Light is coming into this world in extraordinary ways right now. In you as an individual, in me as an individual, in us as humanity, and it's stirring up the sediment. This is a good thing, not bad. Just keep bringing light. Whatever you can do to bring light in your own life, with your close family, community, messages, big things, small things, it doesn't matter. Every moment matters. Even the smile to cashier person, every moment matters. Bring the light. Don't worry about the stirred sediment. Just let that be and bring light. And trust.
Yes. Thank you. That was beautiful. Well, Ava, thank you for your time. Thank you for your love, and everything that you do and who you be in the world is truly a gift. I have felt on the verge of tears this whole conversation because I can really feel what you're doing is making a huge difference. So, yeah.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're so
right. The way we can, and then that's all we can do.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yes.
And whenever we're not bringing light, because we're all in those moments, shift ourselves back and say, okay, then I just need to bring light again. Not to worry about the sediment. The more we focus on the sediment, the stronger that gets. Just let that be and bring light, love, joy.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, audience, thank you all so much for listening. And please go ahead and join the Collaborations with Spirit Facebook group too, so we can keep talking about this and we can talk about all the ways to bring the light in, because this is really, really important that we keep having the conversations and supporting one another in community. So thank you so much. And thank you again, Ava.
Thank you.
Yeah.